Wish today, a New Orleans-style funeral with a band playing at the head of the procession. John, aged 58, from Brinnington in Stockport, was known in jazz clubs throughout the north. His enthusiasm endeared him to musicians and jazz fans alike, and his Latin looks and flamboyant clothes earned him the nickname Spanish Fred. Martin Henfield was at what proved to be one of the liveliest funerals in years.
In New Orleans, they call it being blown out in style. John Bassnett was going the way he wanted. A 15-piece band preceded the coffin through the grounds of Gorton Cemetery in Manchester, and as they said later, it's only a pity he wasn't there to see it. John, a flamboyant character, was buried in the top hat, white tie and tails he wore to jazz clubs and concerts throughout the north.
He was the greatest supporter of all the local jazz bands in the Manchester area. He was wonderful. I've known him through singing him in the clubs for about 30 years, since I first started singing, and he supported them all, came down to see them.
Members of several trad bands combined to pay tribute with a mixture of blues numbers, hymns and Negro spirituals. The mourners included musicians he'd encouraged and friends who, like John, just loved jazz.
He made an express wish that the lads blow him out. I think that was the term he used, wasn't it?
What sort of fellow was he?
Smashing bloke, wonderful bloke. Character. Inspiration, yeah. Well, inspiration when he came to the club. I don't know talking.
The idea for a New Orleans funeral was John's. In death, as in life, he'd always been a colourful character.
He was a very tall guy with very dark black hair, dark black moustache, always wore something exciting in white, or had a white cape and wonderful pair of shoes, always very vocal, always very encouraging, marvellously encouraging man. As soon as he walked in, you knew there was someone special in the room, and he had a long cigarette holder he used to puff out, and he just stood there, and he just felt wonderful when he was around. Miss him very much.
The music at the graveside was funereal. It's how they do it in New Orleans.
If it was going to happen anywhere, it would happen there. And in the old days, or even now, when a famous man dies, or you just get the bands, the local bands forming up into a marching band and following him to the grave. They play very slowly on the way there as a tribute to the man. And then on the way back, they think, well, it's all over now. We'll rejoice a bit, and they whoop it up a bit. But the music just fits the occasion.
After the graveside ceremony, the band upped the tempo to help John on his way. Later, his friends celebrated with money he'd left for the drinks. Jazz had lost a great character, but John Bassnett had gone out in style.
And what a way to go. A great style, New Orleans style send-off for jazz fan John Bassnett.
A very special way to go. Reporting, here's Tony.
A big bass drum, trombones and trumpets glistening in the winter sunshine. Preparations for a festival, a march, a concert. Preparations for a funeral. Today, Gorton Cemetery is the scene of a jazz funeral. This is the funeral of Johnny Bassnett, a chef from Brinnington, Stockport, who died of a heart attack aged 57. But this is no ordinary funeral, for Johnny Bassnett was no ordinary chef. He was a jazz fan extraordinaire. His friends called him Spanish Fred. He used to go to jazz concerts in spats, long cigarette holder, silver-top cane, the works. He would dress in all black or all white. Some of his old mates called him negative positive. He was a real jazz fan, and it was his wish, always expressed, that his funeral should be a jazz funeral. The the musicians playing Fred to his rest are all friends of Fred's. They come from a variety of jazz bands from all over the Northwest.
And he was always a lovely, spectacular man, very warm man, knew a lot about jazz. I don't think I've met anyone personally that knew as much about his style of jazz, the old Chicago style.
How do you all feel? Obviously you're glad to play for John, but I mean, how do you feel about playing music at a funeral? It's not what happens normally in England, is it?
No, it isn't. I think it's a very beautiful way to send anybody to their last resting place. It is a joyful occasion. It is, you get a lot of feeling to be personally involved, because many times you go to a funeral and you don't feel that involved. Here we're able to do something that we all feel very strongly. For a man we knew, felt very strongly about it. So it personally gives me a feeling of great involvement in John's.
This was his wish, wasn't it?
It was his wish, yes.
Time of rejoicing, he's going to a better place.
Do you think there'll be jazz there?
I would think so. Louis Armstrong's there, and yes, there's quite a lot of famous ones there.
He's going to
make
lots of new friends, I think.
He'll be having a ball. One of his favourite phrases was, "Give us a stomper, kid." So he'll be really stomping now.
This jazz's tradition, rarely seen in Britain, goes back to New Orleans, but it goes back further than that, to the days of the brass band funeral rites in Negro secret societies in the slave days, and beyond that back to the funeral rites in Western Africa. There, the culture involved ancestor worship, so death was something to be glorified. As I think their culture put it, we cry at birth, we rejoice at death. One doesn't feel exactly rejoicing here in Gorton Cemetery, but there is an emotion that is strange for an English funeral. Spanish Fred has had his wish, and his music is being played. Jazz obviously gave John Bassnett, alias Spanish Fred, a whole different outlook on life. For all those people here at Gorton Cemetery today, jazz has given us all a different outlook on death. It is normal in these circumstances to say, John Bassnett, rest in peace. Though I get the feeling that John will want to go on stomping.
What a delightful tribute to Spanish Fred. Well, let's move on.